Think Manstein was just another Nazi general. Think again. 5 stark truths reveal the mind behind early German victories and the moral cost that followed. This is not a fanfare. It is a reckoning. Clear facts, hard edges, no excuses. Number 1. He masterminded the shocking invasion plan against France in 1940. Not the obvious rush at the Maginot Line. He proposed the riskier cut through the Ardennes. Heavy armor over forest roads the French thought impassable. A river crossing at Sedan. Air attacks to stun defenses. Then a dash to the coast. It became known as the Manstein Plan, or the Sickle Cut. It split the Allied front. It trapped British and French forces in Belgium. France fell in weeks. He did not fight alone. Heinz Guderian drove the spearheads. Luftwaffe pilots smashed strong points. Staff officers made the bridges work. But the operational concept was his. Bold, imaginative, cold-eyed. Number 2. He nearly rescued the Sixth Army at Stalingrad. Almost. In late 1942, he formed Army Group Don. His task was brutal. Hold a crumbling front. Reopen a corridor to the encircled Sixth Army. He ordered a relief thrust called Operation Winter Storm. 4th Panzer Army struck east from the Don Steppe. It fought to the Mishkova River. Snow, mud, endless steppe. Soviet armor slammed the flanks. Supply was a nightmare. Still, the relief force closed within a day's march of the pocket. Then the key decision. Manstein urged a breakout by General Paulus. He argued that only a coordinated move could save the army. Hitler refused any retreat. He ordered Stalingrad held at all costs. Paulus obeyed. The relief stalled. The Sixth Army starved. It surrendered. Manstein had been close, but close cannot bury the dead. Number 3. He defied no retreat orders in the East, and by doing so, he saved thousands. Hitler believed in lines on maps, not one step back. Manstein believed in mobility, elastic defense. Let the enemy overextend, then strike with a backhand blow. Early 1943, after the disaster at Stalingrad, Soviet forces surged into Ukraine. He pulled back. He stabilized a front. He gathered armor. Then he counterattacked near Kharkov. He retook the city. He bought time for Germany. His methods preserved units that would have been annihilated by rigid defense. He did this again and again. Fall back, counterstrike, preserve combat power. It was ruthless arithmetic. It saved German soldiers. It cost Soviet soldiers and civilians their lives. Number 4. He was one of the few senior officers who protested elements of Nazi racial policy within the army. But the truth is complicated. He objected to the expulsion of men with partial Jewish ancestry who had served honorably. He framed it as a matter of military tradition and effectiveness. He did not argue for equality under the law. He argued for exceptions for proven soldiers. At the same time, in the East, his orders used harsh ideological language. He demanded ruthless measures against so-called partisan threats. He allowed security forces to operate with brutal freedom. His command existed alongside the mass murder of Jews and other civilians by special action units. He did not stop it. He did not break with the regime. His protest was narrow. His complicity was broad. Number 5. He was convicted of war crimes after the war. British judges in Hamburg found him guilty in 1949. The charges included neglect of civilian lives, forced labor, harsh treatment of prisoners, and enforcement of criminal orders. The court did not hang him. It sentenced him to years in prison. The term was later reduced. He was released in the early 1950s. He wrote memoirs titled Lost Victories. He advised the new West German army. In the Cold War, many in the West admired his skill and ignored his crimes. That is part of his legacy. Brilliant, brutal, controversial. There is more. Before France and Stalingrad, he proved himself on the staff in the Great War. He mastered planning, timing, and deception. He learned that surprise could collapse an enemy faster than sheer weight. In 1941 and 1942, he commanded 11th Army in the Crimea. He besieged Sevastopol. He brought up railway guns. One was a monster 80-centimeter piece that hurled shells weighing multiple tons. The bombardment shattered fortresses carved into rock. The city fell. German losses were heavy. Soviet losses were worse. Civilians suffered in the ruins. His army cooperated with political police and security regiments. Mass shootings followed. Grain was seized. People starved. Sevastopol on a map looks like a victory. On the ground, it felt like a graveyard. His relationship with Hitler was a duel of wills. He flattered him when it served a plan. He challenged him when orders made no military sense. He could be icy and sarcastic in conferences. He argued for freedom of action. He argued for concentration of armor. He urged a shift to defense after the failure near Kursk in 1943. Hitler hated retreats. He fired Manstein in early 1944. The general left the stage. The war moved on without him. The Eastern Front collapsed. No one could stop that tide. What about the clean general myth? After the war, his book polished that image. He blamed strategy on Hitler. He praised operational finesse. He downplayed the crimes that shadowed his campaigns. Many readers accepted the story. It was a comforting story. It let people admire German tactics without facing German policies. Historians later cut into the archive. They found orders, reports, letters. They traced the chains of command that enabled murder. They showed how military aims and genocidal aims intertwined on the Eastern Front. They argued that there were no clean hands in a dirty war of conquest. Manstein's reputation changed again. Less marble, more clay. His soldiers respected him. They called him the master of the counterstroke. They also feared his demands. He pushed units past exhaustion. He accepted terrible risks. He believed in victory through maneuver. He rarely thought about the politics of the regime he served. He swore an oath to Hitler. He kept it. That oath bound him to a criminal state. That is the knot at the center of his story. You can admire a plan and condemn a policy. You can acknowledge a gift for war and refuse to excuse what that war became. 5 facts do not give you the whole man, but they pierce the fog. He crafted the blow that broke France. He came close to relieving Stalingrad and failed against orders he could not change. He bent or ignored no retreat commands to save units from annihilation. He raised his voice once against one sliver of racial policy and kept it down when civilians were hunted and shot. He stood trial, served time, wrote his defense, and walked free into a new Germany that needed his expertise. Listen to the silences in his memoirs. They speak too. They speak of villages burned, of trains that did not stop, of hunger as a weapon, of captives marched to nowhere. They speak of a general who saw far with a map and not far at all with a conscience. That is the final truth. Strategy is not a shield. Genius is not absolution. Leadership is responsibility, even when it is shared and even when it is denied. If you want more untold stories of the Second World War, subscribe for the next episode. We will keep the light on the map and the questions on the men who drew it.